Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. So here we continue with our NCERT series. This is the 7th standard NCERT's second part, and from this the chapter 5 is there, which is related to the Indian society portion of your UPSC syllabus. So in this entire chapter, what we will be looking at is the fact that how so many communities belonging to different religion, different beliefs from different parts of the world has come to India seeking shelter and are living happily and peacefully in India. So that basically, strengthens or evidence the fact that we believe, or we are a society which believes in Vasudevaya Kutumbakam. That means the entire world is nothing but one single family. So let's get started with this chapter in detail. So as NCERT has been doing, they are beginning with a quote. So let us have a look at the quote that is mentioned over here. So this is from the Hitopadesha, right? Its meaning. So one important thing for all the aspirants, whenever you use any quote, let's say in your essays or in your answers, right? If it's a Sanskrit quote or any other language apart from the language of your answer of the paper, it is required for you to translate it into the language of your answer. So if I am writing a Sanskrit quote for example, let's say from Bhagavad Gita, I would also translate it in English if English is my language of answer of my means. All right. So the quote which is given over here translates to, "This is mine, that is not mine, so think the narrow-minded." That means if there is someone who is narrow-minded, that person will think that this is mine, that is not mine, that is someone else's, this is mine, that is so on and so forth. For the noble-minded, the people with noble mind, great mind, right? The whole world is a family. The whole world is to be treated as a family, is what it is saying. A very beautiful quote over here. Now, another one is the last message of Sri Sarada Devi. See, Sarada Devi is how you would pronounce it, who is a spiritual consort of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, right? So, what is she saying? Learn to make the whole world your own. No one is a stranger, my child. The whole world is your own. So a similar aspect is being said over here. Now let us understand what all we will be learning out of this chapter according to the NCERT itself. The very first thing is, what has made India a home for the people from different parts of the world. So what is there in India which is making it a home for the rest of the world? Probably it's the openness, the welcoming nature that the Indian society has. Second, why did the oppressed or the persecuted people from other countries seek refuge in India? So why India? See, of course, a lot of people has also gone to the other parts of the world, but why India? Because again, the answer is sort of similar as to what I have said, the welcoming nature of India. And the third, what is it about the nature of Indian society that enables people to assimilate here? Assimilate means they merge, they basically get dissolved in this Indian society and become one single unit. So this is what we will be understanding in this particular chapter. So let's get started. Now in the chapter of unity in diversity, or one in many, another Indian society related chapter in your NCERT which we have done. So it is saying that we have read about many Indians who may be called as migrants, in the sense of the people who are not living near the place of their birth or origin, right? In that chapter, another type of migrants, basically in this chapter we are exploring another type of migrants. Which type of migrants? The people who came to India from other parts of the world and settled here, adding another dimension to the diversity. So as is already diversity is there, but others are also coming, leading to more diversity, is what is being said over here, and there will be multiple examples in this. So it starts with a thought question asking you to imagine the scenario that a stranger knocks at your door and it is late at night. So what will you do? You might call a family meeting. You will discuss the pros and cons in order to decide whether you should open the door or not to extend the shelter to the stranger that is there. Now, the book asks us to extend the same scenario to a country like India, where refugees seek shelter in India with will similar arguments, rationale, positive, negatives apply in this situation also or not, right? So first it starts with the story of the Indian Jews, right? The Jew community in India. Now Jews basically they sought sanctuary as in shelter in India in several waves. So there have been multiple waves of Jews seeking shelter in India. So the persecution of these Jews in various countries have actually led them to having to flee where they were actually residing and seek shelter to different parts of the world. So they have fled their homes. India is one such country which has proved to be a safe haven where they can practice their faith without any fear. Right. Now here they have taken the example of the Bani Israel, which is the earliest form of Jews, earliest sect of Jews that have come to India. So the Bani Israel or Jewish community that lived in the Konkan coast. Where is the Konkan coast? Just south of Mumbai, basically near about the Mumbai coast, and downwards is what the Konkan coast is. So just south of Mumbai, right? According to some scholars, they were around here in around 175 BC. So that is around 2200 years back, right? From the ancient kingdom of Israel. So they were from the ancient kingdom of what we call presently Israel, right? Now on their journey, their ship was caught in a storm, it seems, and shipwrecked near the coast. So the survivors that were there from that particular ship, they settled in India, started a new life. They lost their holy book, but they remembered their prayers, which of course says that there is only one God, because they are monotheist. This religion, the followers of this religion are monotheist, believer of one single God. Now over time, the Bani Israel, they grew, right? They became in fact the largest Jewish community in India, numbering over 25,000 shortly after India gained independence. Okay. Now, as we saw initially, there was multiple waves of Jews coming into India and settling. So several groups also had arrived much later as well. For example, between 12th and the 19th centuries. Right? Why? Because facing persecution in their respective countries. Okay? Some Jews settled near Cochin, that is present day Kochi. The Raja of Kochi granted them the land free of cost, right? So the Raja had said, as long as the world, sun and moon endure, okay, till that time he provided the land. That means basically forever. The Jews, they built a synagogue. What is a synagogue? A place of worship where Jews, a place of worship for Jews where religious services and special ceremonies like weddings, etc. are held. And who are the Jews? Jews are the member of the people and cultural community originating from the ancient Hebrews of Israel and traditionally linked to the religion of Judaism. Okay? Now Jews, they may either be identified through the descent, right, hereditary, basically what children of the previous ancestors, or through conversion as well. Okay? Now Jewish identity may therefore be defined on the basis of religion, on the basis of culture, history, or even of course ethnicity. Now here is the concept, or let's say the ideology of Swami Vivekananda, which has been mentioned over here. So in his speech delivered at the World Parliament of Religions held at Chicago in 1893, right, there has been some memorable words spoken by him, wherein he said that I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. I am proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of the Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by the Roman tyranny. Okay. So they were persecuted by the Romans basically. I'm proud to belong to the religion which has sheltered and is still fostering the remnant of the grand Zoroastrian nation. Now, how beautiful words, and how much proud he is feeling, because he belongs to a country that basically gives shelter to the ones who are persecuted. And a very beautiful thing about this entire speech, a part of this of his entire speech. This is just a part. So in the entirety of this part, he has mentioned that it were the Romans that were having, basically were the tyrants, right? He does not actually mention the religion of the Romans over here. That is the beauty of the personality of Swami Vivekananda. Whereas in present day news or even notebooks or various other articles, you will see religion being targeted, that X religion has persecuted Y religion. Even in the books, your school books, you may see that. So many a times you may see that, which probably can be avoided. Of course it is debatable, but the idea is that if one time you are, let's say, using the word Roman Empire or the Romans, or for example you are saying the British rule, the French rule, right, in the same manner, then you should say, let's say, the Arab rule, for example. You cannot discriminate in the sense that I say an Arab rule and then when it comes to Britishers I say Christian rule, right? So if you are depicting in a particular book with region, then do it throughout. Depicting some of the society with region and a handful or only one or few of them with religion may not make sense. So this is something good to take out from basically Swami Vivekananda's speech as well. Why I'm saying this is how you should be writing your answers. Your answers should not look biased, right? So let's move ahead. Now the two pictures which have been showed over here, okay, is the place shown in both the photographs the same, is what they are asking. So this and this is it the same, is what they are asking. Why? Because this is a painting and this is a real picture. And yes, what is this? This is nothing but the same place, the interior of the synagogue at Kochi, and what, a plaque or in the Kochi synagogue which is present. So you can see the similar things are over here. The backdrop is also the same, right? And this is also, the Jhumar etc. are also similar only. Okay, let's move ahead. Now they are asking us to observe this picture and see how the Jewish community has integrated into the Indian society over a period of time, which is clearly visible. Look at the attire they are wearing. It's much like the females are wearing the saris, which is prominent in India. So that is how assimilation of faith takes place. Let's move ahead. The next community is the Syriac Christian community. Right. So from the 4th to a century CE, the Christian groups who used the ancient Syriac language in their worship and traditions, they faced difficulties in West Asia. Right. Under the Roman Empire, again the Roman Empire is mentioned. Right. They were sometimes treated as heretics. So again, it is a good practice that you are mentioning the entire Roman Empire, not attacking the faiths that they belong to. Right. Let's see whether that continues in the book. I think majorly it will be. So let's move ahead. Heretics, so they were persecuted by the Roman Empire. They were sometimes treated as heretics. Heretics means what? You having a faith which is different, you having a belief which is different to the popular belief of that region. That is what heretic is. So a person considered to be holding beliefs, especially religious ones, contrary to those of the dominant view, right? So to escape the persecutions, some Syriac Christians, they traveled eastwards along the trade routes and reached the Malabar coast of India, which is in present day Kerala. So persecution means hostility, right? Generally arising from religious, ethnic, social, political motives, often accompanied by harassment or violence, right? Let's move ahead. Again, they have given the picture and asked us to see how they have assimilated in the Indian society. You can see that, in our marriages, the tying of the Mangal Sutra is there. So you can see that as well. Again, the bride that draped in the sari, again, an Indian attire is what you can say. So assimilation is quite clear here as well. Let's move ahead. The legend of the Parsi wise men, milk and sugar. So there is a metaphor which is given. We will see that as well. Now the Parsis, who are Parsis, the followers of Zoroastrianism, right? They came to India primarily to escape religious persecution in Persia, that is modern day Iran. That is the modern day Iran. What is Zoroastrianism? It is one of the oldest religions which was founded by Prophet Zarathustra in Central Asia. It is based on the worship of one god, again monotheist religion, one god Ahura Mazda. Choosing good over evil is an important aspect of this faith. Simple, basic, amazing concept. Choose good over evil, right? Now, the Zoroastrianism was the state religion of mighty Sassanid Empire of 3rd and 7th century. Now, after the empire fell to the Arab Muslim forces in the middle of the 7th century, the Zoroastrians, they faced religious persecution in many forms, forced conversion to Islam. Now there is a more detailed, in the previous persecutions which was done by the Romans, not much detail is mentioned in the NCERT, but here the detail is mentioned somehow in the NCERT. So forced conversions took place. Religious taxes, important fact for your prelims, jizya, destruction of the sacred fire temples, as well as social and legal marginalization, right, took place. Now they were therefore forced to flee Persia, of course. Again here, instead of mentioning just the which the NCERT has done nicely so far, but here instead of just mentioning Arab Muslims have been also mentioned. Anyway, so irregularities can be there because of many reasons, but yes, consistency could have been better. So in your answers you can have consistency in your sentence construction and your approach in your essay specifically, wherein you go into the details, so that your answers should not look biased. That is very important for your UPSC examination. Okay. Now the Zoroastrians, they were therefore forced to flee Persia, as we have seen. Now they were unable to freely practice their faith. So the group of Zoroastrians, they made the courageous choice to leave their homeland and sail across the Arabian Sea. Several groups of them reached in the western coast of India, which is present day Gujarat, in around 8th to 10th century. Right. Now, the Parsis, they carried with them their sacred fire and some hope, of course, some hope to make a home in a place that they heard was safe. So at that time, Raja Jadir Rana was the king of Sanjan in coastal Gujarat. Now, according to the legend, now what is a legend? Legend might be something which might not be verified, but has been transferred from generation to generation. So we hear that, which is not evidence documented with evidence as such. So may or may not be right, but yes, the legend still continues. Right. So according to the legend, the Parsis approached Raja for a safe place to stay, since they were unfamiliar with each other's languages. They were unfamiliar with the languages. The Raja was unfamiliar with their language. They are unfamiliar with the Raja's language. So what did Raja do is, Raja showed them a mug full of milk, indicating that his empire is full. But then a wise man among the Parsis, what he did is, he added sugar to the milk, and the sugar dissolves in the milk. He added sugar, which got dissolved, and the milk did not spill, indicating that we, the Parsis, will assimilate in the Indian society without causing any chaos. Your milk will not spill over, and we will form a part of the Indian society. That is what it means. This particular box asks us to think about, what do you think dissolving the sugar in milk without spilling it meant? That means the Parsis will dissolve in the Indian society, means assimilate in the Indian society and blend with it, creating a beautiful blend of the diversity that is there in India. Further, there are certain deep connections between the philosophy of Zoroastrianism and the India's ancient Vedic schools of thought. So what are they? So examples, NCERT talks about certain examples over here. For example, the same concept of cosmic order, which is shared by the ancient Indian Vedic schools as well as Zoroastrianism. Now this cosmic order which is holding the universe together, right? Now there are similarities in the rituals also. For example, much importance is given to the worship of fire, or the fire worship by both the beliefs. Now, interestingly, there are certain differences as well. So, if you look at the differences in the Vedas, the word devas are the beneficial gods that are there. However, in Avesta, what is Avesta? It's the Parsi's ancient sacred text. In that, the Daivas word which is there, it is for the evil gods who are there to drive, who drive chaos. So that's something which is dissimilar or different. Then the Avesta's chief god, that is Ahura, but in Indian Vedic literature, basically Asuras are the ones who are actually the harmful powers or the harmful demons that are there. At the same time, there are certain similarities in the language as well. As we can see, in Sanskrit, soma word is there for a divine drink, which in Zoroastrianism is basically homa. Then you have hotar, which is a priest, so you have havatar over here. Then yagna, which we have in Sanskrit, which means sacrifice, you have yasna over here, which means the same. Right, so you can see a lot of similarities, of course, opposing words, for example, but a lot of similarities, and the rituals are also quite similar. Then we move on to the next, that is the Arab merchant community. Now, these Arab merchant communities, they came to India in the 7th century, and many of them, they settled in the western side of India. So west coast of India, Kerala, Gujarat, Karnataka, they used to trade spices, other goods, and of course married local women. Over here mentioned is what is mentioned. See, when people would come and settle, the marriages, let's say inter marriages, in the sense that marriages of different communities becomes a possibility. That is what has been seen over here. So you have seen the other communities also coming in India would also have a lot of people marrying the women of the local region. Now, the what they have now formed the new communities in Kerala. They became the part of the Mappila Muslims that are there. In your modern history also, you'll read about the Mappila Muslims who were basically harassed by the landlords, right, which led to the Mappila rebellion that you will see. Now, this community has helped build India's oldest mosque, that is Cheraman Juma Masjid. The name of the mosque, this becomes factually important, the Cheraman Juma Masjid. Now, these early Arab Muslim settlers that were there, which came in India, they were peaceful traders and not the conquerors. So, along with them, they brought the new ideas, the culture, the religion, and of course, played an important role in India's history. Then you have the African connection. So there is this tribe, the Siddhis. Siddhis are also the scheduled tribes. Scheduled tribes means the tribes that are mentioned in the schedule of the Indian constitution. Right. So they were brought to India as slaves of the Arabs, the Portuguese, the British traders between the 7th and the 19th century. Now, in the 18th century, some of these Siddhis, they gained prominence in Muslim ruler armies and actually briefly controlled also some parts of Bengal, is what is mentioned over here. Right. Now, the Siddhis have their distinctive dance accompanied by African drumming style. You can see over here the Siddhis basically dancing. The box asks us to identify. The box here asks us to identify the similarities of this with respect to Indian culture. So you may know that in Indian culture also there are classical dance, different dances, dance which expresses your emotions, your happiness are done in the festivities as well. So this is the similarity, shows the assimilation of this community in the Indian society, and also the similarities that are there. Then you have a story of, which is a real life story, of course, of Hirabai Lobi. She is also from the Siddhi community who settled in Gujarat. She has worked for the upliftment and empowerment of the women of her community, connecting them with the banking services, education, organic farming. She has done such an amazing job that she has won the Padma Shri in 2023 for her selfless service to the community. Then you have the Armenians in India. Now, Armenia is basically a relatively small mountainous country between Turkey and Azerbaijan. Right, it is just to the north of Iran. These facts become important for your geography related questions also. So please keep them also in mind. right? Now, centuries ago, these Armenian merchants who used to trade in what? Remember these, what they used to trade in? Spices and fine muslins, right? They used to trade in that. There is some historical evidence of them establishing first settlement on the Malabar coast in 8th of century. Now, during the time of the Mughals in the 16th century, many of these Armenians from Persia, they gained patronage from the emperors, right? And they started to begin their own settlements. Okay. Now, the earliest such Armenian settlement was in Agra, where the Mughal emperor, who Akbar gave them the permission to build the church, to follow their Christian religious practices that was there. Okay. Now, these Armenians have also basically settled down in Surat, Kolkata, Chennai, building schools, churches, cemeteries, and creating, of course, lasting cultural impact. Kolkata, in fact, is one of the major Armenian hub. The 18th century Armenian college they have mentioned, the Mother Mary Church, they are still quite active. Okay. Then some other infrastructure also has been mentioned, which you should pay attention to. The Armenian street in Georgetown memorializes their presence, while the St. Mary's Armenian church, built in the mid 18th century, is a symbol as well. Now, moving ahead to the Baha'i community. Now, in the mid 1800s, new religion called the Baha'i began in Persia, which is modern day Iran. Right. Now, this was led by a man named Baha'u'llah. Okay. His religious teaching was that of unity among the people. The ruling religious leadership in Iran were opposed to it. And in fact, they called this leader and his followers as heretics. We have seen the word heretic. That means the believers whose beliefs or ideology is opposed to the prominent or the major belief of that particular time, as a result of which they were treated badly by them. So they were suffering and looking for safer places, and one such place, of course, was our country, that is India. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, that is of the good Maharaja and the polished children. Now, what is this topic? So there was this Maharaja Digvijay Singh Ji Ranjit Singh Ji Jadeja, right? So during the Second World War, between 1945 to 1939 to 1945, it took place. So a lot of people were being without region. A lot of children specifically were becoming orphans. So Maharaja Digvijay Singh Ji Ranjit Singh Ji Jadeja, from he is the Maharaja of Nawanagar, which is present day Jamnagar, right? So between 1942 to 46, he actually got, with the help of Red Cross and other organization, he got a lot of these polished children to a safe haven, safe place, where they were kept safe and given food and everything that they need, along with other polished people as well. So it is such a beautiful thing of humanity that in Poland there is a memorial in Warsaw in Poland to give tribute to Digvijay Singh Ji Ranjit Singh Ji in the recognition of his help to the Polish refugees during the Second World War. Okay. Then there is the case of the Tibetan refugees. So basically, Tibet, located on the other side of the Himalayan range, it is the northern neighbor of India. So in the 7th century, the land of snows, Tibet is also known as the land of snow. Okay. So this Tibet, land of snow, sometimes called as, so this became basically a center of Buddhism. Okay. When basically its kings, they embraced Buddhist teaching, so it became a center of Buddhism and Buddhist excellence. Right now, gradually, despite few setbacks, Buddhism still expanded in Tibet. But during the 12th and 13th century, the Turco-Afghan military invasion is going to take place, and it will become difficult for the Buddhists over there. Many monks left for Tibet, often taking precious manuscripts of Sanskrit texts with them from India to their place. Right, from the 15th century onwards, Dalai Lamas, who are Dalai Lamas? Each of the Dalai Lama is said to be the reincarnation of the predecessor. Okay, they assumed a greater role, eventually becoming the spiritual head. Okay. Now, Very importantly, what they have given to us is their medicine, or you can say a traditional system of medicine called as the Sowa Rigpa, also known as the art of healing. Now, it was codified in 8th century CE by medical council held near Lhasa in Tibet. Not just that, the Sowa Rigpa is now a part of our Ayush program. Under Ayush, you have Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha, Sowa Rigpa, and homeopathy. Okay. So from 1950, subsequently what happens is, from 1950 onwards, the People's Republic of China, they overran Tibet in several ways, right? Eventually annexing it. So in 1959, following the popular uprising in Lhasa, which was the religious and administrative capital of Tibet. Lhasa at that time was the religious and administrative capital. There was an uprising against the Chinese presence. So the 14th Dalai Lama was advised to flee the region, right, and take refuge in India. So to the Dalai Lama, we have given refuge to the Dalai Lama. Since then, the Indian government has granted him asylum over here. And in fact, from here, they are running their central Tibetan administration, which functions as the government in exile. Okay. Now, the Dalai Lama is known for his 4 commitments. What are these 4 commitments? Promotion of human values like compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, the promotion of religious harmony, the preservation of Tibetan culture, and the revival of India's civilizational heritage. Particularly India's value like karuna, that is compassion, and ahimsa, that is non-violence. I hope that's clear. Now, all these examples lead us to what? To the fact that India believes in Vasudevaya Kutumbakam. What is Vasudevaya Kutumbakam? The whole world being treated as one single family is the concept of Vasudevaya Kutumbakam, which we have seen from so many examples. Okay? Now, not just that, in addition to this, the question is, how did India develop a reputation of being such a compassionate country that have welcomed people from all over the world of various religious faiths, religious beliefs, regions, etc.? We have been home to those people, welcome those people, because the core teachings of ours includes ideas like Sarva Bhavantu Sukhina. That means may all creatures be happy, talking about the happiness of not just the people of this country, but the people of the entire world. In fact, all the living beings is what we want to see as happy, right? Then Athithi Deva Bhava, that is, a guest is like a god, and the value of compassion, ahimsa, then Karniya Meta Sutta, the Buddha's word on loving kindness. So all this basically gives us the ability to welcome and keep our arms open for anyone who is persecuted or who's seeking asylum and shelter, and we have been able to help them. And at the same time, we have all lived together as a single entity. So even as a mother protects her life, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the world. Okay. So now next is, they have also mentioned Indian values beyond. What is this? Indians are also going abroad, not to seek asylum as such, but as a pull migration for better opportunities and for various reasons. So wherever there is a sizable Indian community living today in the other parts of the world, right? We might be minority over there, but we contribute to the economy, the integration, and we set an example of how the community should be integrated with the other regions where they are staying. Okay. So while religious persecution has been experienced for centuries in many parts of world, India has developed a culture of what? Peaceful existence. So religious persecutions have been there throughout the world, but in India, we have developed the culture of peaceful coexistence. You will not find people in bulk going out and asking asylum in some other part of the world. Of course not, right? We are going to go to tour that and those countries, visit them. That's a different thing, right? But not to seek asylum, right? So that itself shows that India has a culture of peaceful coexistence. We have the majority religions of the world, we have all other religions of the world, but all of us living happily, peacefully together. Of course, at times the fringe elements, does fringe activities which tries to sort of destroy this fabric of unity that we have, but still the Indian society has withstood the test of time and have stood united, right? So that is the beauty of our country and its people. Now there are also many cases where people who came intending to conquer India, but instead we have conquered them. We have conquered them means what? We have, they came with the intention of conquering, but we have conquered means we have converted their heart, changed their heart, we have brought in love in their heart. So instead of conquering India, they have sort of settled down in India and started living with us and have become a part of our society. So that is what our ethos are. Okay. So the idea of fundamental unity of humankind is one of our core civilizational values, which can help the world also to resolve some of its crises like war, climate change, increasing inequality, discrimination, so on and so forth, right? So that is what India is all about. Thank you.